Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
Virtualization and Cloud Talk,
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos.
A Microsoft MVP, Citrix Charter CTP, VMware vExpert.
And your host, Douglas Brown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DABCC Radio. We have Citrix Ready back on the line with us, and today we are blessed with the fine folks at Nutanix. And I tell you, if there's a company that's disruptive, if there's a company that's changed things more in the past 3 to 5 years, there's not one that's done it more than Nutanix. So I'm really blessed to have these guys on the show today. I'm really excited about this conversation. We're going to learn all about Nutanix, how it works within Citrix. You might have heard the VDI story behind that, but there's also a cloud story too. We're going to get into that a bit and hear from the Citrix Ready folks too, and what it was like to validate Nutanix within the Citrix Ready program. So really exciting conversation. We have a couple people from Nutanix, and then of course a wonderful gentleman from Citrix Ready. So I won't introduce them. We're going to do that right now. I'll let them introduce themselves. So with no further ado, here's my interview with Citrix Ready and Nutanix. Okay, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us. I'm looking forward to this. Nutanix is one of those companies that just came out of nowhere and disrupted the world, and for a good reason. So I'm really excited to have you guys on the DABCC Radio again, and then hear your relationship, hear all about the relationship with Citrix and how that helps Citrix partners and Citrix customers and things of that nature. So that being said, thanks, guys. There's three of you, so let's get straight to it. We'll go around the horn and have you guys introduce yourselves. So, Preethy, who are you and what do you do over at Nutanix?
Hi, everybody. My name is Preethy Padman. I'm a senior manager for solutions marketing at Nutanix. My primary role is to drive VDI marketing. So I work very closely with Citrix on joint solutions, go-to-market, etc.
Okay, Anders, so who are you and what do you do over at Nutanix?
Yeah, my name's Andrew Mills. I'm a worldwide end-user compute manager over at Nutanix. I've been here for a little over 3 years. Background is primarily Citrix, where I spent 6.5 happy years, and then I had a quick coffee break somewhere else. So very happy to be here.
And then, of course, Sagnik, you've been with us a couple times now. Can you, for those who might not have listened to the other podcast, shame on you people, can you tell us who are you and what do you do with the Citrix Ready team?
Hey, Doug. Glad to be back. Hi, everyone. I manage the technical marketing aspects around Citrix Ready. So I work with ecosystem partners. We have over 1,000 plus partners, engage with them, support them in the Citrix infrastructure, liaison with the product management team, write white paper blogs related, and basically maintain the Citrix Ready marketplace, which helps enable our customers to make better purchase decisions.
Perfect. And then my second question is always tell me about the company. So, I'll throw it at the Nutanix guys. Can you tell us, who is Nutanix? What are you guys trying to do for those who might not be familiar with you?
Yeah, sure. So Nutanix, when we first started off, people looked at us as a hyperconverge company, and that's really combining the compute and storage together, connected via a distributed file system. So essentially that was Act 1, and now we're really looking to take it to the next level and be the enterprise cloud company. And essentially what we're doing with that is we're offering all the positive public cloud virtues like the agility and simplicity that people like it, but we're offering that on premise. And we do that via our software, which again, that's what combines the compute and storage and the virtualization and the network. So you kind of eliminates all the silos there that cause issues within organizations. But on top of that, now with this enterprise cloud journey, we converge the private and public clouds together, giving people the flexibility, which is what they like about the AWSs of the world. So we're really allowing people to run their IT as a business. And they're allowed to do that because they're really focusing on the app, which is really the business driver. And we do that by making the infrastructure invisible. So you just focus on what drives the business.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Sagnik, can you tell us a bit about Citrix Ready and during your explanation, can you talk a bit about the verification process? So we're going to talk about, verifying Nutanix, but, what does that mean to, the listeners out there?
Sure. So we are at Citrix, we're very proud of the long and successful history of being recognized as the industry leader in secure app and access delivery, desktop delivery. So one of the things we are humbled is being used by successful organizations. Over 98% of the Fortune 100 companies trust in our solution and delivering them. And the reason I guess we do this is because of we are being able to be simple, scalable, and cost-effective. And this is where Nutanix jumps right in. We share the same vision. Our teams have basically worked together to validate their hyperconverged infrastructure. They have after-policy hypervisors that are validated with the Zen desktop. Their Nutanix, the operating system, is validated across the Citrix products, to ShareFile, to Zen app, and so on. So yeah, I think we have a lot of co-joint materials to share and a lot of customer success stories.
Perfect. Thank you. So now I want to sort of get into, what are your views on Nutanix partnership with Citrix and Citrix Ready, and how does Nutanix and Citrix add value to each other and partner?
So yeah, so like I said, I'll relay back from my previous answer, which is about simplicity, scalability, and being cost effective. And Nutanix and Citrix has been working since the inception to reduce the cost of the VDI and be able to deliver the end users their desktops and applications in a seamless fashion. And what I would like to touch upon is the complexity element there. Managing infrastructure costs and complexity are key to successful app and desktop virtualization delivery deployment. And what in Citrix we love about Nutanix is the invisible infrastructure that they always talk about. It is basically predicting the unpredictability when it comes to VDI. And the reason they are able to do this is being linked because of the fact that we are laser focused at the simplicity, being able to manage and also being aware of the entire life cycle of how the end user interacts with their apps and desktop.
That's great. Andrew, Preethy, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I have to add. So as Sagnik mentioned earlier, Citrix is the leader in VDI, right? 98% of Fortune 100 companies are customers of Citrix, which is so phenomenal. And Nutanix also, in a very short span, has been a leader in hyperconvergent infrastructure and helping customers build their enterprise cloud. So when Citrix and Nutanix came together, it became easy for customers in different sectors, be it in financial services or healthcare or education or public sector, to adopt the technologies, right? It made it very simple for them to consume from these two companies that had figured out two pieces of the whole application side of the house from Citrix, as well as the infrastructure side of the house from Nutanix. So as such, it helped the customers overall by coming together. And that's our whole journey, right? Our whole vision and what we have looked to deliver is to make the experience of the customer the top notch.
Yeah, I really think it comes down, like one of the main reasons I think why I talk to customers and they tell me why they like the Citrix and Nutanix combo. A lot of that is the predictability that they have, right? When they're able to incrementally scale and know that is going to go from a POC/pilot right to production, versus, the legacy architecture and the SAN. What would happen on these VDI projects, people would buy a SAN infrastructure for 500 users, we'll just say, for keep the math easy, and they would run 100 people on there just to test, okay, is it successful? And they have rave reviews. Well, hey, if you're putting 100 people on something that's built for 500, of course they're going to get great performance and everyone's going to be happy. But then when it's time to move into production and you add the other 400, you go from having 100 very happy people to 500 very angry people. So I think Nutanix allows you to kind of grow that in increments and grow as you grow the business. And this is kind of the economics of Nutanix, how you can really run IT like a business. You look at this web scale architecture that we talk about, it's really predicated on designs of Google and Amazon and what those guys do. And, again, we bring that to on-premise. So I think a lot of it, everyone throws out the term performance, but I think the key is predictable performance, because it's the inconsistencies that anger the end users. And from a Citrix Ready perspective, you look at a lot of these Ready programs, whatever other companies call them, and it's almost like the requirement is a pulse, right? And not much more. But with Citrix Ready, it's a true testing, and you could tell that way customers really ask for that, right? And it means a lot to them. And for Citrix, it's important for them to get it right with their partners, because it's the Citrix icon that's on the customer screen, right? If there's any issue, it doesn't say Nutanix, it doesn't say anything else. And that's why this program is really, really legit. And that's what impresses me the most about this one in comparison to others. Just the fact that they're at different trade shows, because so many people are meeting other manufacturers there. And then what do they do after they talk to company X? Well, they go run the Citrix Ready. Hey, what are your thoughts on this company? How's your testing gone? So that's, I look at that as a partnership with Citrix. And then, I think the Citrix Ready partnership, even more so, gives us a lot of credibility out there in the market.
You got it. I think you hit the nail on the head also with the scalability, the performance, and the perceived or the real experience that the end users get, because Citrix is, as you mentioned, the name on the screen, and at the end of the day, we're dealing with their applications, right? Nutanix is a hardware company in the sense of servers and infrastructure and things like that, but it's the underlining. If that piece goes bad, then it affects the entire stack. So, Sagnik, do you have anything to add relating to when you guys were validating Nutanix and the scalability and things of that nature, and how that went? Your experience with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been involved in multiple Nutanix products validation. And really, I think when it comes to the scalability, I remember to have seen the screen like of 15 minutes, more than 150 VMs getting up and running, and seamlessly. So that was that has been the fastest that I've seen. I guess it can does more. But yes, it's kind of amazing at the way the whole, and it's basically the ease of the administrator to do all these actions of these lifecycle operations. I remember to see the management interface being so simple, like it's like a Google search you're doing inside in your infrastructure data center. So yep, we believe Nutanix as the dominant infrastructure for Citrix Virtual Desktop and all the Microsoft workloads and so on.
That's perfect. And how well did Nutanix work with Citrix solutions, Sagnik? Did you run into any issues?
Nope. I guess we're working more on increasing our scope and visibility of the other Citrix products as well. I've seen absolutely no issues when during our validation or for any performance issues. It's always more than what we aim for.
Great. That's great. So, Andrew, Preethy, can you tell us about the different business problems that Nutanix is trying to solve, and how are you doing that? You mentioned a bit about hyperscale in the past and hyperconvergence, and now you're getting into the really this cloud play, which is really interesting to me, and it makes a lot of sense. Can you tell us about this stuff?
Sure. Let me just summarize it into 5 top value propositions, Doug, and then I'll invite Andrew to add further color to that. So what customers are seeing right now, right, from the first value that Nutanix delivers is to simplify the data center stack, right? So currently, if the customer has to think about deploying the data centers for a Citrix VDI, they have to acquire separate servers, storage, and then the virtualization is separate. Then with all these different pieces, and like what Sagnik had mentioned, right, the management becomes a little more complicated than what it is with a single pane of glass with a Prism interface. So Nutanix as such is able to simplify the data center stack, and especially with the new AHV that was introduced in the past year, which is the hypervisor. So then it makes it very simple for the customer to just think of the whole infrastructure to be managed by Nutanix, and on top of that, Citrix is doing all the cool stuff in the application side. So that's the first value. The second value, I would say, is linear scalability for VDI. So when a customer is looking at, say, virtualizing, say 300 desktops, right? They're a small healthcare practice, and they have about, say, 300 users. But they do think that they'll grow to, say, 1,000 users over the next couple of years. What the current legacy systems don't offer is the ability for them to scale linearly. And that's one thing that Nutanix has taken and solved, where if the customer wants, they can just deploy, say, 4 nodes, in one block, and to start out the infrastructure. And as they need, they can just add the blocks, as they go, right? So it actually reduces their upfront costs, and also it makes it very scalable for them to pay as they grow, right? So that's the second value. The third value would be predictable performance. I did hear that also being mentioned by both Andrew and Sagnik. Just to give a little more color to that from a technology side, what we did was we did some tests across from 300 users to 3,000 users on how the performance changes, right, with respect to, say, opening some of the most popular applications like enterprise applications, Outlook, Word, and even high-end applications, right? And what we saw was with the Nutanix in the base and running the Citrix VDI, the time actually pretty much is flat, right? What time it takes to open the applications doesn't change. So what that means for the customer is as they scale, they don't see a degradation in performance, right? And value 4 is the faster deployment and time to value. Right? Typically, what customers have shared is that if they had to have multiple pieces of equipment coming from different vendors, then it takes them like 2 to 3 months for getting the experts, putting them all together, and then even planning out, deploying to production. What our customers have seen, for example, there's a healthcare hospital in Texas that deployed Nutanix in 3 days. Right, so that they were just blown away by that, right? So that's another big piece, that 30x faster time to value, and finally the fifth one would be reduction in footprint and lower TCO, right? So some of our customers have reported that 10 to 20x reduction in the space that they need, right? For example, 16 rack units, as you call, have been reduced to, say, 4 rack units, right? So really, they could just reduce it by up to 90%. And we even ran an IDC study on that, where we interviewed about 15 or customers from across different verticals. And there was consistent reports back from different customers in reduction in footprint, and the power and space also gets reduced, and overall their TCO reduces. Right. Andrew, would you like to add some more?
Yeah, just real quick on the performance piece. Everybody says they have good performance, right? And you could throw enough hardware at something to get that good performance. One of the key factors of why we're so performant with Citrix environments is because of the data locality. So when you have a 3-tier architecture, your data has to travel through all 3 tiers, and we're combining all that into one. So just the physics of it itself, we solve the underlying issue in terms of where that performance goes, right? Because that time is latency, which is a direct result of an end user experience. So the data locality, I think, on the performance piece, I just wanted to highlight that because I'm sure everyone gets on these types of podcasts, and they're all going to say their performance is great, right? No one's going to say that it's not, but why is it great? And I think that's a key piece. And then going to the economics of it too, where I look at this. I used to refer to Nutanix as a just-in-time infrastructure, and that again, that allows you to treat that like a business. For example, like a higher education, you have central IT. They could buy this technology on the fly as they're selling it internally. So if they're going around to the School of Engineering and School of Business and promoting the Citrix story in terms of what virtual desktops can do for that particular school, they're able to turn around and get this up and running very quickly. And I also want to highlight, steal a page out of Steve Kaplan's book, but we called it the Tesla effect. And essentially, because all the intelligence is in our software, the technology gets better and better as you go on, number one. So there's more and more features at it. And then as we leverage the latest and greatest hardware, when I started, we were on Sandy Bridge. We had just moved to Sandy Bridge. Then we went to Ivy Bridge. Now we're on Haswell. And, there's going to be new hardware coming out. So we leverage that as it comes out, meaning you get more density. So I think the economics of this really are beneficial towards a VDI project where, unfortunately, when VDI first came out, that was the angle everyone started with, which kind of, you all know how that worked. And it's really, you got to look for the business cases and security items, et cetera, real business drivers. But we actually add the economics into this now because of this, the density and how it's better. And we call it the Tesla effect because it's one of those, when's the last time your car was better 3 years after you bought it? Well, the only people that could say that are Tesla owners. And then, infrastructure-wise, the only people that could say that are Nutanix owners.
Very interesting. Very interesting. You guys had mentioned also the enterprise cloud story that you have. And when I think of enterprise cloud, I don't think of VDI. So how can you talk a bit about how those two, mesh and why somebody listening today that's a VDI guy cares about the, enterprise cloud? Can you bring that together for us?
Sure. I think that a lot of that is around the simplicity of having one environment. So, in the beginning, in the early days, we were known as the VDI guys. But we could run any workload as long as it's virtualized. So I think really the fact that we're able to handle these enterprise-like workloads, SQL and Oracle, we have customers using this. This allows you to put any app on the Nutanix unit. And then, we just talked about all the flexibility of going, private to public, back to private. And then the way that you could treat your internal cloud like the Amazons of the world, you could build that in-house now. So hopefully that answers your question on the Preethy, if you want to add some color to that. But I really think the key to that, saying this enterprise cloud story, is more of the actual enterprise apps. And, we look at VDI as an enterprise level workload because people run their business on this, right? So Citrix, when it's done right, meaning, when it's set up right and a good experience, it could be the most strategic thing that businesses ever take advantage of, right? And it can do a lot for companies. But it's something that has to be done right and built from the data center all the way to the desktop. And I think that's what we offer Citrix folks too, Citrix customers, is now there's no finger pointing. This is all the way from the data center, as I said, all the way to the desktop, which is the end user experience. So this enterprise cloud story, we look at that as every app that could be virtualized, but it starts at the enterprise app level, like the SQLs of the world.
Perfect. Makes total sense, Andrew. It makes total sense. Sagnik, so what products, Nutanix products, were Citrix Ready verified? All of them?
So basically, Nutanix Hyperconverged solution, which is the Nutanix OS, is validated with Citrix vendor stuff, Synapse, ShareFile, NetScaler, and so on. So that's one of the solutions. And another is the Acropolis hypervisor, which is a KVM-based hypervisor, which is similar to Hyper-V or ESX. And this one is validated with Synapse and desktop. They're supported protocols that I believe they support today is IPv and NFS. So Nutanix can export storage as either an IPv target or an NFS share. That's pretty much what we have tested from Citrix Ready perspective.
Perfect. Okay, so maybe we can talk about some success stories. So Andrew, Preethy, any Citrix and Nutanix success stories you'd like to share with us?
Sure. So I'd like to start with St. Luke's Hospital, who've done their VDI deployment with both Zen-Desktop and Zen-App on Nutanix, right? Just to give a little bit about the customer, they have about 14,000 plus employees, right? 1,500 physicians, 30 different sites, and they're one of the largest healthcare systems in the Boise, Idaho region, right? And they started out with the key business challenges, which was, their doctors were asking for mobility, where they'll be able to access patient records from their home or on the go, or even in the hospital from one patient room to another, right, to have that flexibility. And at the same time, how healthcare with all the HIPAA compliance and the security acts that are on the IT team. So they had to look at the solution that would help them with both the secure aspects as well as fulfill what the clinicians are asking for, right? Plus, they had this whole multiple workloads. They had multiple EHR or EMR systems like Epic, and a few others because they had acquired a bunch of hospitals. And then had imaging systems with McKesson, and they had multiple applications they were trying to run, right, including with Citrix, and they were trying to use like Unidesk and other, like Caradigm tap and go systems, right? So it was a huge, undertaking by the IT team when they were trying to virtualize this whole infrastructure with Citrix. And when they looked at Nutanix as the back end, they were able to leverage all the different values that we shared earlier, right? The linear scale, because they said, okay, we have to get to 10,000 users, but let's start small. Let's maybe do 1,000 users, get to 3,000 users. I'm happy to share that they've about 50%, about close to 7,000 users have already been virtualized. And so that's a huge step for them, right, in their journey, and they continue to do that. They continue to leverage the value of simplified management and, proactive troubleshooting. The management time and resources has reduced by 70% as what they shared. And they've deployed the VDI in the nursing areas, in therapy area, etc. And they're also looking at the ED emergency room, those areas, right, and ambulatory areas also are being run by VDI, right? So that is one big example that that I think was one of our largest success stories that we have. And they're also going to be at Citrix Synergy. That's the conference that's coming up in May, end of May. Andrew, would you like to add any other customer stories?
That's definitely a good one. I've talked about Loeb and Loeb just from personal experience with it, and what we allowed them to do. It was, you look at, it's a law firm here in Los Angeles, and you think of two of probably the most pain in the neck users, doctors and lawyers, right? They're on the top of the list, 1 and 2, or you can switch them around in order. But it was I talked to Aaron Peterson, just to ask him why he moved forward. And essentially, he really bought into our story of the software-defined components, as I talked about, that Tesla effect. And it was the predictability. If he's able to predict a lawyer's performance and know that that guy's not going to pick up the phone, because we all know they don't pick up the phone to say, hey, you're doing a great job down there in IT. And that was it, right? It allows him to scale it out to all the different branches because they're a worldwide company. They're in the thousands as well in terms of seats. So that one, just hearing that predictability and the scalability components from the customer and what it's allowed them to do. And it's also, this will kind of tie off on the enterprise cloud item that we were just talking about, but it allowed him to focus on the application, which really drove the business. A lot of times when people are doing these projects, they spend so much time on the infrastructure, which no one ever sees, which doesn't drive the actual business and adds business value, making IT valuable to the company very visibly. And we do that via our simplicity, right? Simplicity is a word you do not hear a lot in the VDI world. And that's what we here at Nutanix are trying to change. We want it to be synonymous with Citrix and Nutanix, the word simplicity. I think we're on track so far, according to our customers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, guys, that's pretty much all the questions I have for you. I'm going to ask you one more, two more of where do we need to go to learn more? I have to ask that one, but I'll throw it around to you guys and just say, why Citrix and Nutanix? The entire podcast was that question, right? But maybe you can give me a one sentence answer, or you can even go on if you want. But I'll just throw it at you guys. Why Citrix and Nutanix?
Yeah, I look at it for the simplicity component, why Citrix and Nutanix, and I think it's the true integration points. So when you hear of two different technologies working together, it's usually, a couple folks shaking hands at the corporate level, which is great, right? Some marketing events, even better. But I think we really have a true story here in terms of the integration points with our mobility fabric and our Acropolis story. So that's not just Acropolis hypervisor, that's the Acropolis fabric that we have. And Citrix and us are now really integrated in that. So it comes down to the actual technology working together. And then, the people part has been great as well. I don't want to diminish that. It takes people to make this work. But we really have the technical integrations with the MCS components. I think part of that is also reflected in documentation, like, Citrix validated solutions. That's not something that's given out to just anybody. So that's something that we have as well going for us. I really think we help in terms of, from the Citrix side, we help them out as Nutanix to have the customers, have the channel partners really focus on getting Citrix up and running versus spending a ton of time setting up a SAN. If you look at a normal project of setting up a VDI environment, you're seeing 3 to 5 days being taken to implement SAN infrastructure. So what ends up happening is people just do a normal instance of VDI. Here you go, here's your virtual desktop. Well, Citrix has so many differentiators in their technology that are there, but they don't get included because of the complexity to install it of the infrastructure piece, right? So, I always tell our channel partners, focus your efforts and time to really drive the value of the application, meaning Citrix, Zen Desktop, and Zen App, and the other components there, ShareFile, NetScaler, et cetera, versus spending, all these days on an infrastructure, because we're a half a day install. So I really think that is a good story because that's what drives the business value. That's what gets customers happy. That's what expands projects, right? When you look at like a St. Luke's, this guy's gone gangbusters in terms of his expansion, and that's all because he doesn't have to worry about the infrastructure. So.
That's so well put. We shouldn't have to worry about the infrastructure. Just we should worry about the software. Well, we shouldn't have to worry about that either. Everything should just work.
Exactly.
Right.
right.
So if it did, then
no, and that's kind of, if you look. Yeah, and I mean, if you look at our CEO's vision. He's been talking about making the iPhone for the data center for the longest time now, and that's kind of where we are, right? We want to be able to just have that consumerization of IT. People are doing it anyway, so let's just provide them that ability to do it in a corporate context, making it more secure versus locked down before, right, where you're limited in what you can do.
You got it. Hey, Citrix Synergy is coming up soon. I imagined, well, you had mentioned you guys are a platinum, Nutanix is a platinum partner this year, which is pretty, kudos to you. That's an invite-only type of deal there. So maybe, someone's attending Synergy, definitely stop by the booth, things like that. And I'll go ahead and give you guys the last word. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, folks, great to have you join us here today. Synergy is May 24th through 26th. Nutanix is really excited to be there, and our booth is right next to the Citrix booth, booth number 605. And St. Luke's Hospital that we mentioned earlier is going to be there. They're going to have us, the sessions at the booth, like, you could come and stop by and meet with our speaker, Brett Taylor from St. Luke's, as well as there are going to be many more customers there that you can meet with from other verticals, that are of interest to you.
That's wonderful. That's really neat that you guys are having customers there. So somebody, if you're a customer, you can go talk to another customer and really get the lowdown. Versus, not that you pitch people, but it's you speak to a customer, just a different relationship. And that's wonderful that you guys you're not hiding anything. So that's really truly awesome. Really, really awesome. On that note, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today. I very much enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you guys at Synergy. And, what else do I say? Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
For having us.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Preethy.
Okay, so that concludes another successful episode of DABCC Radio. As always, I want to thank my guests, Nutanix and Citrix Ready, and Andrew and Preethy and Sagnik. Thank you guys so much. Definitely check out, if you're attending Synergy, stop by the Nutanix booth and talk to the customers and hear what they have to say. But it's just, I tell you, it's one of those companies, like I said, that just came out of nowhere and just changed things big time. And what more can I say than that? So it's just, it's great. It's great stuff. So on that note, guys, new DABCC is live. So head on over to www.dabcc.com for the latest and greatest cloud, virtualization, mobility, desktop, security, storage information there is in the world. And it's a brand new ground up redesign. It looks beautiful. It's fast. You can go into any category or topic or the all news tab, and it works like Amazon, where you get all this information. They just do little check boxes. Oh, I want everything from Nutanix relating to VDI, and boom, it goes from 35,000 articles down to 1,000, and then or 500, and then you're like, okay, and Citrix, boom, down to 100, and then you're like, oh wow, and related to 3D graphics, boom, down at 6. And you're like, okay, well, these 6, I'll find out what I want. So within like 5 clicks of a checkbox, you've just narrowed your search down, and then you can actually use search from there and narrow it even further if you want to just, get even more granular. All within seconds. The power is immense. And it's really pretty too. Beautiful. So on that note, definitely check out www.dabcc.com. You will love it. What more can I say? Guys, thank you for listening to DABCC.
Can you say DABCC?
DABC.
Say it again, DABCC.
DABC.
Can you say it again, DABCC?
DABC.
How about DABCC?
DABC.
DABCC.
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 DABCC.